Welcome to the 49 Yard Dash Podcast, a podcast on your San Francisco 49ers, hosted by myself, Stephen Ellis, and of course joined by my guy, Josh LaFond, who you can also find again at gbmwolverine.com. Writes good stuff, worth checking out. Josh, how you doing, my man?
Struggling, sad, feeling many emotions. In the words of a wise man, John Denver, take me home, Shanahan, to the place that I belong. Start Trey Lance, cut JG, take me home, Shanahan.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. Came from the heart.
Hey, well,
And this also comes from the heart. I hate Urban Meyer and I hate Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm ready to get this started.
those are your two arch rivals.
Yes, I'm in a high octane war. Forget the Scandinavian dwarfs. I'm in a high octane war with the Italian and the used car salesman.
At least Michigan's in the playoff, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hence the picture.
Yeah,
I'm pretty thrilled. I can't wait to get blown out. But hey, I vow not to bring up the school and the Mitten State this episode. There will be no comps, only adjectives that will describe them.
That works, you got to do what you got to do. Well,
I do what you got to do, man.
After a 3-game win streak, the 49ers, it's over. The win streak is over. They dropped Seattle 30-23. My score prediction was 30-20, so I was close, but I had it backwards. So,
What was mine? Do you remember?
I'm pretty sure.
Who cares? It was a blowout 49ers win. Yeah, it was a 49ers blowout win. Completely wrong. Who gives a crap?
And it was such a. I mean, this is one of maybe the craziest game I've ever watched in my life. It was like both teams didn't want to win and were trying to hand each other the win. The 49ers just managed to hand it over a little bit more, and that's the basis of this football game.
Yeah, clearly the game was fixed. Seattle front office and 49er front office were trying to fix this game so they could both lose. So the Seahawks could transition into the Geno Smith era, and the 49ers could leave Jimmy G at the Market Street area where all the dead fish are in Seattle and start Trey Lance. That's what this was designed to do. But unfortunately, they managed to screw each other over in the process.
Oh, it was unbelievable. And even the way the game started, having to drive the ambulance on the field for Trent Cannon, who Hufanga accidentally stuck his knee into the side of the guy's neck and head area. Thankfully, it's just a concussion. To be quite honest, I was worried that he broke his neck, in all honesty.
I was worried that Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Undertaker were going to walk out of that ambulance and smack Russell Wilson in the face, because that seemed like a WWE entrance to me.
It did.
Glad Trent Cannon's okay.
Yeah.
Personally, I thought The Undertaker was going to walk out of that ambulance and
count as a fool. Pretty cool, I gotta say.
It would have been more exciting and a happier result than this game was.
Yeah, that's true. Garoppolo threw 2 I would describe as awful interceptions. He took a safety.
Boy
Dunlap absolutely destroyed Tom Compton, but I still think you got to throw that ball away, not take the safety.
Yes.
He didn't have much time, but I think he had enough time to throw it away, especially since he has a quick release. Travis Benjamin fumbled on a punt return, which why is he returning the punt?
Sure.
So this game was an absolute disaster. Really for both teams. Russell Wilson threw a pass to Gerald Everett that was so wide open that would have been a touchdown, and he managed to fumble it. Well, drop the pass, not fumble it. Drop the pass, and then kick it into the air before it touched the ground so K1 Williams could pick it off. I mean, that's the kind of game we had. We had an ambulance on the field. We had a guy kick a ball up to be picked off. We had Benjamin fumbling the ball. I mean, it was unreal. Nick Bosa's forced fumble that went 33 yards behind the line of scrimmage, so that Seattle had a 2nd and 43. it was a crazy game.
Yeah, we also had the 49ers get shut out in the second half against the worst defense in the NFL.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, that was cool.
Good times.
Yeah, it was a crappy performance by the 49ers overall.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. No way to deny it. After playing pretty well for 3 straight games, Garoppolo was pretty ugly for most of this game. I know it's one of those games where the stat line doesn't look awful, but he just threw some passes that, man, made you turn your head.
Yeah, 20 for 30 for 299, 2 TDs and 2 picks. The 2 picks would concern you, but the issue is he posted a career high QBR of 32.9. So really getting after it, Jimmy. You managed to do that against the literal, talked about this last week, the literal worst passing defense in the NFL. You managed to have a QBR of 32.9. So congrats. You did even more than I thought you could.
And let me say, those picks were really bad picks.
Oh, they were horrible. They were worse than Arizona last matchup several weeks ago. Those were worse than that. That was worse than the quadruple coverage pick that I screamed and pounded the table over. And the refreshing thing for Jimmy Garoppolo, if you're looking towards the future and wanting to find a positive, it's that 181 of his 299 yards came to George Kittle. So continuously checking it down. So really just pushing the company line, towing the company line, bringing the flag with him. He's just doing what he always does. Puts up decent stats if you're a fake fan or you don't have NFL Red Zone or NFL whatever you have, or you find other ways like I do to watch the games. You would think, oh, Jimmy played great. No. Well, hey, check that stat line. Check down Jimmy's back again.
Kittle was awesome.
He's the best player in the NFL. So, yeah.
Dude, he is a monster. And the one where somehow he stayed in bounds after breaking a tackle on the sideline and took it to the house. I mean, good Lord. He is unreal.
Yeah.
And I was talking about crazy plays, and I didn't even mention Seattle's fake punt 75-yard touchdown, which was the first score of the game. I don't know how that's
beautiful.
Yeah, they played a perfect game. The 49ers did not play it perfectly.
Yeah, and you think about, too, the leading rusher, not in yards, but in carries for Seattle was Adrian Peterson. Peterson. 11 carries for 16 yards and a touchdown. So you bottled up the run game, except for the couple misdirections and trick plays they had there to Homer, hardly nowhere. They really bottled up the run game, and which isn't a surprise. And they bottled up Russell Wilson fairly well, holding him 230 yards and making him throw 37 times to get that, holding him somehow to a less of a QBR than Jimmy, coming in at 30.8 out of 100. And they still managed to lose the game. So why do you think, Stephen Ellis, what do you think the keys, we talk about the keys to victory, what really was the determining factor in the win, the inflection point as they call it? What do you think the inflection point was in this game? That
the main reasons why the 49ers lost?
Yes, or a main reason. Either inflection points or the inflection point, the coup de grace, if you will.
So obviously the Seattle fake punt was huge. I'm going to go also, that's the main one for me, because when Trent Cannon got hurt and the ambulance came on the field, I thought they're going to react one of two ways. This is going to motivate them to play really, really well, to defend the guy or avenge the guy who just got hurt, or they're going to get really, really sloppy. And first down, second down, third down, the defense looked like they were avenging the guy that just got hurt. But then that went down the drain with an unexpected play. So that was big. And I don't know if there's a specific play I can put on. It's just the fact that—
What was the inflection series? Well, either offense for the 49ers or offense for the Seahawks. What was the the point of the game where you felt like Seahawks got this wrapped up?
I don't know if I ever felt like that because they down 7, they had a drive at the very end of the game. I mean, it came down to the last throw of the game. So I really didn't feel like they had it sealed until that 4th down when the pass got tipped at the line of scrimmage. But I will say after the safety that was immediately followed by the Tyler Lockett touchdown, at that point, I did think Seattle was winning the game. That's just a safety and a touchdown. I mean, that's such a swing.
Well, it went safety, punt, interception, touchdown. So you had a double whammy.
Man.
Where Jimmy didn't throw the ball away. They managed to stop the Seahawk offense, which isn't hard to do, folks. But they managed to stop them on a short field. A punt from a safety, typically you're getting it. If you're not on the opponent's side of the 50, you're dang near close. They managed to hold them to a 6-play drive to where they had to punt from the San Francisco 44. So they managed to hold them when Seattle had an opportunity to really put the game away pretty not early, but it's early in the 3rd quarter when it's a tie ball game. They had an opportunity to put it away there. It really felt like, to me anyway. And then you get the ball back, you got an opportunity to get that lead, and then 4 plays, 2 minutes later, you throw your pick of the game. That to me was the inflection point where it's like you responded well, you answered the bell in a weird game, you got the ball back, and then Garoppolo misses Kittle across the middle.
Yeah.
To me, that's what it felt like. As soon as that play happened, it's like Seahawks got this wrapped up because you can't keep, no matter what the Seahawks are ranked at, we talked about it last week, no matter what they're ranked at in passing, offense, defense, whatever, you cannot put the ball in Russell Wilson's hands. The same way we talked about week 2 or whatever, or not week 2, week 3 against the Packers. You can't put the ball in an elite quarterback's hands with a chance to march down the field and win the game. You can't do it, no matter how bad they are. And that's what happened. You got them stopped. You got the ball back when they had every chance to take the lead, and that was your opportunity to put your foot on the neck. Even though it's a tie ball game, you're only going up 1 score. You blew it. Next series, Seattle scored. The rest is history.
Especially against Russell Wilson in Seattle, who we know, we hate admitting this, but has always pulled magic against the 49ers and throughout his career has owned the 49ers, to be frank. That when you look at his record and his general statistics against him, you can't give Russell Wilson every opportunity to beat you. He's going to do it. I don't care if they're 3-8.
No.
Russell Wilson's going to do it.
I would argue, and speaking for you as well, probably 2 or 3 of the 5 worst moments of any of our teams fandom go back to Russell Wilson and plays he's done against the 49ers.
Yeah.
Just heartbreaking plays.
Yeah.
We hate him with a passion. And that's why you can't give him a freaking chance to march back down the field and take the lead. You have to take the lead and make him drive the field and tie it up. Different ball game. Same thing with the Packers. Different ball game when it's tied up and you got an elite quarterback marching down the field to take the lead. Different ball game doing that than when you're coming from behind and you're having to push. No matter how good of a quarterback you are, it's a whole different scenario. You just cannot do that.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. And now they dropped to 6-6. So there is some debate to be had on where exactly they are. So we are going to do an exercise that's first time for us. Niners on trial. We're going to propose 3 different ideas, and we're going to figure out where they are. So let's do this. Let's figure this out. Me and Josh. All right. Yes, and
please rise. Court is now
right.
Yes. So
thank you, YouTube.
exactly correct. So offer me the first.
Hold on a second. I would just like to say, even though this is going on YouTube, it's ridiculous that there's a 15-second ad on a 4-second video. We don't need an ad.
Oh my gosh, so true.
That just for anybody who's made it this far with me ranting about John Denver, Michigan, and God knows what else I'm talking on my rear end on. That was a 4-second clip I found on YouTube for me and Steve to start this segment, and it happened to start with an ad. So that's remarkable. Thank you, YouTube.
Oh,
Thank
actually,
you, Mark Zuckerberg.
that music was me, though, actually.
Oh, was you?
Yeah,
Oh.
I did that. That was music leading up to it. I decided to add that.
Oh, yeah?
But when I originally
I thought it was an ad. Okay, never mind. Great choice of music.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. It seems like you're really
Forget everything I said. You're welcome, man. You're welcome. You're welcome. I couldn't hear you. So, yes, trial is now in session. The Honorable Judge, Stephen Ellis, presides.
Give me the first topic we are discussing, Josh.
Okay. So we're going to go back and forth on these reasons. I'm going to make the argument against why the 49ers are not going to make the playoffs based on these things. And Steven is going to make the argument on why they will.
Yes.
First topic I'm going to present. The offensive line is suspect at best. Despite losing Mike McGlinchey, who I have railed, run over, backed over, and dumped into a bottomless pit and filled it with dirt. You're still missing him. You've got Alex back. You've got a lot of issues. I don't think the offensive line is good enough to hold their own down the stretch.
Okay. I will say the right side is suspect, but I think overall the offensive line, when you look around the league, a lot of teams have it a lot worse. I don't think the 49ers have a bad offensive line. Again, Tom Compton was getting rocked. Alex Mack has definitely had his struggles, but I think overall this is a above average offensive line, I would say. Because, I mean, at least when you look at the Jets and the Bears and the Jaguars, you see what you could have. It could be a heck of a lot worse.
Sure. I'll give you that one. Point number 2. The 49ers rank behind the Rams, Vikings, and Philadelphia. Their main opponents right now in the wild card, even though the Rams rank ahead of them. Rams, Vikings, Philadelphia, they rank behind them in total points scored. There's not enough offense out there to keep up with these offensive teams you have down the stretch. Tell me why I'm wrong.
What I would say is the 49ers are 6-6, and they deserve to be. But I don't think that right now they are a 6-6 team. And the reason being is I think they went through a really weird cold stretch where Shanahan was trying to figure out what he was doing on offense. And he deserves some criticism for it. Even though I'm someone who generally defends Kyle Shanahan, he does deserve some criticism for not being in rhythm calling plays. That's your job. But I think the last 4 weeks, he has found it. So the overall season statistics don't matter to me as much as who they are right now. And I think they're good enough. I think they're a playoff team right now. And they're still in the playoffs. But yeah, go ahead.
What concerns me is you put up 23 points on the road. I don't care what it is. It was an afternoon game. It wasn't a horrible environment. That's not the 12th man that we've seen the Seahawks have in years past. That was not necessarily a hostile environment. Difficult, sure. Not something a 100th-year veteran in Jimmy Garoppolo should have an issue with. Putting 23 points up on the worst defense. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, here's the difference. The last 3 weeks, they were able to put at least 30 points on the board. It's the turnover margin. That's it. I mean, if you don't turn
that's a fair point.
Picks, you got 2 more possessions to score and 2 awful picks again, let me say. And the fumble on the kickoff return, and I believe they had 4 turnovers. I can't remember what the other one was now, but if you don't turn the ball over 4 times, I think you get to 30 points.
Sure. So moving off of point scored, the prevailing point in this argument is that there's not enough offense. That could be included with the turnover margin. Mm-hmm. Can the 49ers win the turnover battle down the stretch against teams like the Bengals, Falcons, Titans, and Rams, who some of their better players are in the secondary, are in positions to make plays on the ball. They're not necessarily elite defenses, but they are defenses who can make plays on the ball. Do you think the 49ers can win the turnover battle in those games?
Yes. I think Joe Burrow is a stud, but he has turned the ball over a decent amount this year. Of course, Jimmy has too. Stafford, for some reason, has turned the ball over a lot. Tannehill has been too. And the Falcons, I mean, if they lose to the Falcons, they don't deserve to be in the playoffs. So, again, I just think the 49ers of the last 3 weeks, I'm hoping that's who they are more so than this past week. I think you'll get another game like this down the stretch. And if they play like this in the playoffs, they're obviously not going to win. But I think more often than not, we're going to get the 49ers of the previous 3 weeks than this week. But that's probably, it could be me being too optimistic. So.
Yeah, and the issue with that argument is that this was the worst defense in football, and you didn't put 30 points up on them. So the Bengals have a bad defense. The Falcons have a bad defense. The Texans have a bad defense. The Titans and Rams are mediocre, and you didn't put 30 points up on the easiest defense in those games. That's not as big of a rivalry anymore with the Seahawks as it has been in past. When Harbaugh and Carroll were there, they had a lot of animosity, obviously, from their college days, Sherman and Harbaugh too. So there's a lot of bad blood there. Maybe you could accredit to that during those years, but certainly not anymore. It's not the same rivalry it once was. So I still don't believe in offense at this point. It seems like we've talked about it before with certain rookie quarterbacks, Justin Fields in particular, where there's something off about him. That's the same feeling I have when watching this 49er offense. It seems like they tread water. They make the right plays at times, but consistently you're watching them and it doesn't seem like it's a process that the process that is planned on is churning and working. It feels like they hit on enough right plays and the defense is just good enough that they win these games. Games against the 49ers, they caught the Rams off guard. Shanahan has owned McVay for years, blowing the Jaguars out, one of the worst teams in football. They made just enough plays against the Vikings, but I don't think at one point this year, maybe outside of the Packers game, which they lost, have I felt like this offense not only has a plan, they are executing it, and I know what's coming. And it's not a bad thing, but I know it's coming, and I can count on it. I can count on them to march down the field. I can count on them to get points here. I can count on them to keep the drive going. I know what the process is. But since that game you've talked about before, with Shannon's play calling, they've won games. They won 3 in a row up until this point. But it hasn't felt like, at least from my discerning eyes, the same as it has in Shanny past years, where it was leaning on the run game. It was leaning on the screen game. It was something that you could point to and say, this is an organized plan, and they're not just winging it and hitting on plays. It felt like that they were exerting their will, that they had the better players, that they were executing at a higher level than the defense. And that was something they can hang their hat on in some of these closer games. Doesn't feel like that to me this year.
It definitely didn't to me until the 3-game win streak. I started to feel like they got their offensive identity, and it was mainly running the football. And Jimmy Garoppolo.
Deebo Samuel is your running back, man. That I would hate to cut you off, but when he's leading you in runs and rushing yards and attempts during that streak, I don't know if that's.
He was for one game when Mitchell was hurt, but Mitchell was definitely the go-to dude when he was healthy. I mean,
Deebo still had a ton on his plate during those games.
Yeah, and I actually think he has too much on his plate. They need to spread it to Kittle and Ayuk a little bit more. And it was starting to go that way a little bit more until Mitchell got hurt. It's hard to tell. But here's my case. I'm going to give you the optimistic side of it.
Okay, give me the optimistic side.
I'm going to lay this all out and tell you why the 49ers are not only going to make the playoffs, but why I think they can win a playoff game. You ready for this?
I guess so.
Okay, so a couple weeks ago, when we talked about the 49ers remaining schedule, I said that I thought they would drop one of Seattle or Cincy, one of those two road games. They dropped Seattle. So if they beat Cincy, they're on track to match what I predicted, and that still allows them to lose a game or two to match what I predicted, which was that they finished 9-8. So I think they have a real shot at that. Also, we thought that maybe the Saints or the Vikings would be their biggest competition. The Vikings are now 5-7. They just lost to Detroit, and the Saints just look flat out bad. They're not even the competition after all. It's Washington and Philadelphia more so. And
That's a fair point. Go ahead.
Washington still has to play Dallas twice. That's probably 2 losses. And two of their other 5 remaining games are against Philadelphia. And then, of course, if you look at Philadelphia, they have to play Washington twice and Dallas. So the 2 teams that they're really competing against right now and Dallas, who's a really good team, a lot. So I think they're going to drop down the standings. The 49ers are still in really good shape to get the 6th seed. And then the Packers schedule. As of right now, the Packers' toughest remaining game is in Baltimore, who at times has looked shaky. I think they might win out and go 14-3, and that's relevant because the Cardinals, on the other hand, have to play the Rams, the Colts, the Cowboys, and a division rival, Seattle. I bet they drop at least one game there. And if that's the case, Green Bay, if both of those things happen, Green Bay takes the number 1 seed in the bye over Arizona. So that means that the 49ers, if they are at the 7th seed, would play Arizona. If they're at the 6th seed, they might play Tampa. But my point being, if Arizona drops a game or 2, they could fall to the 3 seed. And if the 49ers are 6, they play. Can Arizona beat San Francisco healthy 3 times in a row? Probably. But I think the 49ers would have a chance.
Does it concern you that the 49er defense ranks behind their competition, Washington and Philadelphia, and total statistics, run defense, pass defense? Does it concern you here down the stretch?
Not really, no, because like I say, those teams have to play each other. So I'm pretty dang confident the 49ers are making the playoffs. Unless this game just sparked something really negative where they turn a corner to a really bad place, I think they're making the playoffs.
Does it concern you that they have more losses by less than 2 scores than their competition for the wild card seeds, Washington, Philadelphia, Panthers? By less than 2 scores, they have more losses than those, especially when going up against teams like the Bengals, the Falcons, the Titans, and the Rams, who have offenses that have a pulse.
So you mean they're losing more close games than other teams? Is that?
They are. They
Okay.
are. Against their competition, they have the most losses by less than 2 scores against their playoff competition for the wild card, the Rams, Panthers, football team, and Eagles. We're not going to count the Vikings because I think they're out, and I think the Saints are out too.
Yeah.
But technically, Panthers are still in it. Rams are ahead of them right now. Football team in Philly. That's the 4 you're kind of going against right now.
Yeah. I mean,
does it concern you? I guess let me rephrase it. Does it concern you if, as they start getting into games with, what is that? 4 out of the last 5 against offenses that have a pulse in a tight game, they tend to lose these games more often than not.
So here's what I'll say. I'm not worried about Atlanta. And actually, I know we predicted them to lose, but I think they can beat the Titans now with where the Titans are right now. And they can beat the Texans. That's 3 more wins. That's 9 wins.
Sure.
I actually feel pretty confident about. They could lose to Cincinnati, and they could lose the Titans. If they drop Cincinnati, Titans, and the Rams, then that's when it gets murky. But even then, with the way the NFC looks, you could still get in at 8 and 9. There's a chance.
Yeah, I do think you got to get to 9 wins, though, if you want to be in this thing.
That's definitely what I think they should be going. I mean, they should be going for winning the rest of these games, obviously, but behind closed doors, they should be saying, all right, guys, we need to go at least 9 and 8. And
Sure.
I think they're going to do it. I do. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do tend to think so too. And it's nice to get this kind of argument, though, but kind of moving on, court is now adjourned. The magical case of Jimmy Garoppolo, the conundrum that is the Italian stallion. What do you think his trade value is, picks wise, players wise? Maybe not at all. And then what teams might be interested? I'm curious to hear your take.
So let me put this out first and tell you what he's not worth, because some people are throwing this out. No, I'm serious. Some people were throwing this out after the 3-game win streak that they might be able to get a first for him. That is not going to happen.
No. If he played the rest of the way like he did during the 3-game win streak, you're not getting a first.
I agree. I totally agree. No, that was never going to be
the slightest.
I think if he would have played at that level the rest of the way through, then maybe you would have got a second, but not a first. So, I mean, I think if he finishes this season okay and looks like a starting quarterback, because he's a starting quarterback. He is. He's not somebody that we believe is going to take you to the promised land. He might be taken to the promised land like he was in 2019, but he's definitely not someone who's going to take you. So, I mean,
yeah,
4th rounder.
That's not far off. And I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, it's cool.
Expound on what you're saying. I don't even know if he's that anymore. He seems more like a bridge quarterback, like a better version of Jared Goff with the Lions having him. He's not going to be – he's somewhere between a Tyrod Taylor level and a Tyrod Taylor, Teddy Bridgewater, and Jared Goff level. He's more explosive than those guys. Or not in athleticism, but in play. He can give you more than those guys can. But he's also not going to be as consistent. He's the bridge quarterback that you put on a playoff team, maybe like Pittsburgh, not even throwing them out there because I would like to get to some of your fits. But maybe a team like that, let's just throw that out hypothetically, where they draft a late round quarterback this year. They need a bridge guy after Ben retires. They're not confident in Mason Rudolph. They're not confident in Dwayne Haskins. Mm-hmm. And they need a guy who's good enough to carry a playoff team, who's got a good enough run game around him and Najee Harris, who's got a good enough defense around him. They just kind of need him to tread water. I think he can be good in a role like that. And again, not saying Pittsburgh's a fit. I don't even have him on the list. But in a situation like that, I think he can be good. However, I don't think he is a franchise quarterback by any means and a multi-year starter. He definitely feels more like a Teddy Bridgewater, Tyrod Taylor, Jared Goff than a Gardner Minshew, even than a Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Russell Wilson kind of guy. I don't even know why I threw Zach Wilson in that list, but a franchise guy that you're going to put your value of your franchise in.
Well, yeah, but I don't put. I said starting earlier. I don't think all starters are franchise guys. Of course, you know that. I mean, there are 32.
Sure.
There aren't 32 franchise quarterbacks. But again, there are 32 teams. 32 teams need a starter. There's not 32 guys better than Garoppolo. To me, I don't think I could come up with 20 guys that I'm confident are better. But that's just me. I think I still think of him higher than you do, even though this week was ugly.
Yeah, there's many weeks that have been ugly. I'm confident I could come up with 20 that are 25 that I have more confidence in than Jimmy Garoppolo. But I do agree with you. Once you get past the top tier quarterbacks, it's kind of murky. I do think there is more than 20 teams, though, who say we like what we have in our guy long-term better than what Jimmy Garoppolo could give us.
Maybe, yeah.
Even a guy even a guy like Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins has more potential than Jimmy Garoppolo. Not that they'll ever meet it. That's certainly not on the
I
table
would take Garoppolo over either of
or
those.
guaranteed. Well, Garoppolo is also 30 years old, and those guys are in their early 20s. They do have more potential. It's a fact based on their physical stature and their prowess. But there's many teams like that could feel that way. Like, hey, why would we give up a pick when we just have a guy that gives us similar production and we feel like might have a higher ceiling? Even if he doesn't, we've already got him. Why would we give up a pick for a guy who we know what he is, and what he is inconsistent?
Well, some teams would rather have a veteran than a guy that has potential, but we know isn't going to reach it. I mean, Drew Lock has arm talent, but
Sure.
I think 32 of 32 teams are taking Garoppolo over Drew Lock.
Yeah, no, I think they are too. And that kind of transitions it to it. So I think personally, just to kind of reiterate, what would you put his value at pick-wise? What would you put his value at?
4th, 5th range.
One pick.
Yeah.
5th, 4th?
I'll say 4th.
Okay. I think more so that 3-game win streak, if he had continued that, you might have got a 3rd rounder for him easily. Maybe a 2nd he could reach. He seems more like a late round pick where you're just trying to dump his salary and you're hoping that some team bites on an expiring contract with a veteran quarterback. I'm more so in the mindset of the 6th round pick. That's what I've got written down. But I could see a 5th round pick easy. It's, those late round draft picks, it's easy to take a veteran with that. And if the 49ers get it for him, heck, they got Elijah Mitchell late.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't have somebody else. What do you think some teams are that are good fits? I'll go with 5 written down. What do you think are 5 good fits for Garoppolo? Just off the top of your head, just off the cuff.
Okay.
Or 5 teams that might be interested.
Okay. I actually do think Pittsburgh is actually one of the ones I thought of.
Okay.
Big Ben's done, and I don't think Haskins or Rudolph is somebody they want to turn to. And
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Could be a bridge guy for them if they were to take a Kenny Pickett or a Matt Corral or something like that. I think New Orleans is somebody. Jameis Winston is a free agent. They don't know if he's going to come back. I don't think they want to go to Trevor Siemian, and I hope that they don't want to go to Taysom Hill. If I were the Giants, I would move off of Daniel Jones. And I think, again, same deal where Garoppolo could be a bridge guy for them. I've stalled out. Let me think.
So you've got 3. You've got New Orleans, New York Giants, and Pittsburgh.
Do you know anything about Teddy Bridgewater's situation? Is he going to be there next year? I don't know. If he's not there.
Yeah, no, he's not. Yeah, he's not signed to a long-term contract by any means.
Then maybe Garoppolo being a bridge guy there.
Yeah, so just to reiterate on Teddy, before I give you my list, he's got a longer-term contract, the best I can remember, but it's easy to get out of. It's not guaranteed money.
Okay.
They could easily move off of him or cut him. Nothing is guaranteed. In fact, they would owe Drew Lock more if they tried to cut him, or even I think they would take a bigger cap hit if they tried to trade him than they would Teddy Bridgewater. So,
gotcha. Okay.
Give me one more.
Okay.
Pittsburgh, New Orleans, Giants, Denver. What's your 5th?
Let me. Okay. I'd almost feel bad for him, but Houston. Yeah.
It's pretty funny. Give me if you had a 6, because I actually wrote 6 down, but I was only going to name 5. Give me a 6, because I'm curious how many we have in common. Give me your 6. Give me one more team.
Carolina.
Okay. We got 4 out of the 6 right together. I had New Orleans. I had the New York Giants. I had the Houston Texans, and I had the Denver Broncos.
Okay.
You made great points on all those. There's no point in reiterating. The only thing I'll add is if who did I say? Saints, Giants, Texans, and Broncos. The only thing I'll reiterate is if God, I lost my train of thought. Give me a second. We'll see if it comes back. If it doesn't, I'm moving on. The other teams I had, you had Pittsburgh and Carolina. I had Philadelphia and Washington.
Philadelphia
And
and Washington crossed my mind. I almost said Washington, but go ahead.
the reason being, the Eagles have already moved off of Jalen Hurts. He was banged up a little bit, but moving to Gardner Minshew, they already made that trade for him. I really felt like that was something that was coming. Garoppolo is a perfect bridge quarterback for them. They can continue to load up on the offensive line and continue to load up on defense. They got a ton of picks this year. They don't even have to go for a quarterback in a bad quarterback class. They can just trade a late round pick, get their guy in Garoppolo. They can recoup some value for Jalen Hurts. You've got Minshew. You can kind of build that team and then have, like we talked about, an up and down veteran who can maybe get the ball to Devontae Smith and Gobbert and Miles Sanders. That feels like a pretty good fit. With Washington, how set are you on Heineke? He's been kind of up and down this year. If you really feel like this is an elite defense, top 3, top 5, and you're really confident in your weapons, and McLaurin, and why am I blanking on your running back's name? What's your boy's name?
Oh, Antonio Gibson.
Yep, and Antonio Gibson. If you really are set on that running back stable, yeah. If you're set on that running back stable, if you're set on McLaurin and those other weapons, Curtis Samuel, do you feel like Heineke can get it done? I don't think so. Those seem like fits, Philly and Washington, where those could be even more long-term. Like we talked about, the Saints, Giants, Texans, Broncos, feels like some teams where they might even take a quarterback early, maybe move off of Locke, move off of Bridgewater, want some fresh blood in there to kind of groom them, bring them along. Again, I hate to continue to say the word bridge, but does seem like he could be a bridge quarterback for the right situation. And even like what you mentioned, Pittsburgh, that's an excellent fit. I just happened to speak off the cuff, mentioned him earlier, and hadn't even thought about him. But that's a great fit.
It is.
That is the AFC version of the 49ers.
Yeah.
Najee Harris is their Raheem Mostert. They've got an elite defense. They've got good enough weapons. Not elite, but good enough. Same with the 49ers.
Good weapons. Yep.
Yep. And they just need someone to get them the ball and just tread water. So that'd be a good fit too. But yeah, I do think, for me, 6th-round pick, if you can get a 6, you just take it and don't ask any questions because it's something.
Yeah. It's true. Because next year has to be, it's all about Trey Lance. No doubt about it. And I know you had one more thing involving Trey Lance, so good segue.
Yes, I did. Before we preview the next game, we'll talk about that. That was a great segue, and I will continue to reiterate how awesome a segue it was. What do you do with Trey Lance? We're 6-6, 5 games, almost lost count of how many games we played. 5 games down the stretch. And by the way, I still haven't remembered what I was going to say earlier. It'll come back at the worst time right before we close. And I'll bring it up then. I think for me, Homer, I start Trey Lance down the stretch. These defenses are bad enough. Garoppolo's played inconsistent enough. Put Garoppolo up while he still holds value. You can convince the right team to say, hey, give us a 5th or a 6th for Jimmy. We benched him because we didn't want to kill his trade value because we're in a bad spot. We just want to commit to our rookie and see what we had in him. Just give us a 5th or a 6th.
Let me throw one thing in real quick. I've seen several people say this, and it has kind of ticked me off a little bit. I've seen several people say that Trey Lance started against Arizona in the second half of Seattle before that, and he didn't impress Shanahan enough to get the following starting job. I would just like to say that is bullcrap. Shanahan came out 2 weeks ago and said that if Trey Lance didn't hurt his knee, that he would have been the starter against Indianapolis and maybe going forward. But because of his knee, they had to bring Garoppolo back, and then they got really hot. So that is the truth of the matter. Trey Lance did not disappoint or lack a level of impressiveness to where they had to go back to Jimmy. No, he hurt his knee. They went back to Jimmy, and then they went on a win streak. So just want to clear that up. But to answer your question, go ahead.
So hold the fort. Hold the fort. Do you think that had he not gotten hurt, he would have continued to start
After Indianapolis?
after he got hurt and Shanahan started Garoppolo in his place, and they went on the tear?
So Shanahan said that if he didn't hurt his knee, he would have started against Indianapolis. So I think that would have happened. I don't think Shanahan just lied about that. He would have started against Indianapolis. And unless he was just bad and lost them the game, which they lost that game 30-18 anyways, I think he would have started the rest of the year, yes. I'm upset that he hurt his knee, and that was because they ran the ball with Trey Lance 16 times against Arizona. It was too much. But to answer your question, what would I do now?
Better yet, let me rephrase it before you give your answer. What would you do now? Just to clarify with the listeners, we both go on tangents. What would you do with Trey Lance? He's not even involved in the game plan. I was watching Locked On 49ers with Croc and Peacock, and one of the commenters was like, this is a bunch of crap. Continue to talk about Trey Lance. When you're going to get through your heads, he's not going to play. That's not the point. The point is, we feel like there's a better quarterback on the bench potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Do you insert him? Do you not? If you're going up against some porous defenses, how are you going to play this? Do you stick with Garoppolo, or do you take a flyer on the young guy?
There are some different variables too. Like, for instance, I think there is one reason to stick with Garoppolo is I do think Shanahan, even despite this loss, has found something play calling wise. So because of that, I think you kind of need to roll with it. But if it were me, I would have been committed to Lance earlier, so that wouldn't have happened. So it's hard to.
Yeah.
But with the way things are right now, I think they're kind of on a roll. I know they just lost, but I still believe that I think they're going to beat Cincy. I think they're going to beat Atlanta. I think they're going to beat Tennessee now, and I think they're going to beat the Texans. I probably sound like a goober, but that's where I'm at. And if they lose to Cincy, then I look like an idiot, and that's okay. But I think you found something, and you need to stick with it. But at the same time, they're not going to win the Super Bowl, so 2022 is more important. And I really hate the idea of 2022 being Trey Lance's pretty much rookie year. Screw it. Yeah, let's go Trey Lance. Because even despite
full circle, I like it.
Everything I just said, I still believe that Lance. Imagine this run game with one more element of running the ball, and Trey Lance doesn't have to be polished and veteran-like to do that. That's what he does. So,
yeah, I think it's. We talked about this before. I think it's ridiculous they didn't start him from week one.
Yeah.
It's the worst mistake they could ever made. This was never about 2021. It was always about 2022.
Exactly. And now you're
setting it up. Go ahead. No, you were about to say it. Make your point, because I was about to say the same thing. I want you to say it.
Oh, yeah, because you've set yourself back a little now. This could have been Trey Lance's development year if you're going to be 6.
So what's next year going to be now?
His development year.
There you go.
Yeah.
You screwed yourself. You managed to fondle the situation completely. And you could have got a backup quarterback if you wanted to groom Lance. You could have got in. You could have traded for Gardner Minshew with your plethora of late round picks. I believe they had 2/5 that they end up using for Aaron Banks. Trade up.
I think Gardner Minshew deserves a shot at a starting nod.
Yeah, he does.
Maybe I'm crazy.
But
he's good.
No, he does. But he's good. But just the fact of if you wanted to have a guy to groom Trey Lance, why not bring in a guy who's worth a crap? Not a guy who lost you the Super Bowl, got hurt last year, and now you're benching for the young guy. That's a horrible situation. It's a wonder that this locker room hasn't blown up.
Yeah.
You could have easily signed Fitzpatrick. You could have easily traded for Gardner Minshew. You could have easily gotten Trevor Siemian. You could have easily traded for I'm going to stop saying his name, Heineke. You could have easily gotten Teddy Bridgewater. Any of these other guys. Any of these other backups.
Yeah.
You could have gone after New England's 10 freaking 40-plus-year-old white guys who've been in the league for 100 years. Chase Daniel, for God's sake. You didn't have to keep Mr. $18 million man to groom your franchise quarterback for the next 20 years. This is a horrible situation. They blew it from the jump. I think, personally, they won't do it. The Bengals are horrible defense. The Falcons are horrible defense. The Titans put up good numbers, but they're not a good defense. The Texans are a bad defense. And Shanahan owns the Rams. We talked about early in the season. They're not going to do it now. But God almighty, you got to put Trey Lance in at some point. I mean, goodness gracious. He's your first-round pick. It's not going to happen, but they have to. Because next year is going to be a developmental year. Yeah. And they're going to say, oh, what if we started Trey Lance in 2021? Oh, what would have happened? Oh, what would have happened? Oh, here we are, 10-7. Josh and Steve are talking about playoff scenarios. We'll see what Trey Lance can do because he's having rookie growing pains.
And it's going to tick me off.
You should have played the freaking guy.
Yeah. And we'll have to deal with another season of while Trey Lance is developing and having his true rookie year. We'll have to listen to Luke talk about Mac Jones.
Yeah, we'll have to listen to the Mac Jones crap. We'll have to watch Justin Fields play. We'll have to watch Zach Wilson play. We'll have to watch Trevor Lawrence play. We'll have to watch freaking Kyle Trask and Kellen Mond and all these other sons of guns. Watch all of them play while Trey Lance is going through growing pains because Kyle Shanahan can't get the idea through his head that if we're going to spend 3 freaking first-round picks that we should start this guy, that maybe he's a little bit better. Maybe he gives us a little bit better of a chance to win the Super Bowl than a guy who's over the hill, inconsistent, puts the ball in harm's way, hasn't played worth the crap since he went out to dinner with a certain celebrity that I'm not going to name. We've talked about it before, and she quoted, everything she touched turns to gold, and we went to the Super Bowl. Well, where are you at now? That's all I've got to say.
Yeah. No, me and you were both on board with starting Trey from day one. They didn't do it. And I saw Eric Crocker tweet it, but if you tell me that the 49ers couldn't be 6-6 with Trey Lance, you're lying.
You're nuts. You're nuts. You and I talked about it before when they were 2-0, 2-1, 2-2, 2-3, 2-4.
Yeah.
We thought that they would have been 2-4. I was trying to count back up the game. Sorry. The viewers don't give a crap. It's just me and you. They would have been 2-4 Trey Lance.
Oh yeah.
You can't tell me that they wouldn't have been. You can't tell me they wouldn't have been 3-3. Are you nuts? Are you nuts?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't tell me they wouldn't have been 3-3. That Cardinals game that they lost, that was a game plan for Jimmy Garoppolo. Mm-hmm. Give Trey Lance a game plan and they win that game going away. Give Trey Lance the Colts game in the rain. Let him run. They win that game.
Oh, yeah, now you're talking. But the Arizona game, let's remind everybody, he was an inch away from a touchdown that would have been a tie ball.
He was an inch away from a touchdown. And it was a Jimmy Garoppolo game plan. Are you nuts?
And 3 times they got in Arizona territory, 4 times they got in Arizona territory, but they didn't have a kicker, so they couldn't do anything about it and had to go for it on 4th down.
Mitch Wishnowski's trying to kick field goals and you're going for it on 4th down from negative territory. Are you kidding me?
Yes. That's
49ers they're 7-6 or 6-6.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But
and you know what they have with Trey Lance? No. You know what they are with Trey Lance?
What?
They are a team on the rise with a young quarterback and they have momentum.
True that. With an unstoppable run game that.
Do you think the Bengals, the Falcons, the Titans, the Texans, and the Rams, do you think that they sit back and the secondary sits there shaking, sweating, crapping their pants, looking at Jimmy Garoppolo saying, oh, dear God, what's Jimmy G going to do to us today? Oh, no. No, they couldn't care less. Trey Lance is back there. This is exactly what's happening. Trey Lance trucks Jalen Ramsey. He stiff arms Von Miller. He says, Aaron Donald, do your little knife game with yourself. I'm running past you. Jimmy Garoppolo's getting blown up, and they're going to have an ambulance ride out to him. It's not just Trent Cannon. Jimmy Garoppolo's going to get his neck broke by Aaron Donald last game of the year. And then Trey Lance is going to come in, and we're going to say, oh, man, Trey Lance looks good. Maybe we should have played him all year. You think? You think?
Oh, that's probably what's going to happen now.
That's exactly what's going to happen. Exactly what's going to happen. And I'll just say this. You want me to shut up. I ain't going to shut up.
That's all right.
Trey Lance will play this year, whether in a playoff game or in a regular season game. And here's why. Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't just get hurt once. He doesn't just get hurt twice. He has regularly gotten hurt thrice in the seasons he's played. Trey Lance will start a game. And it'll be when it's inconsequential. When the 49ers are outside of the playoff race. When they've dropped games to Cordero Patterson and the Atlanta Falcons. Whoever, God knows, they picked up from the practice squad with the Titans. And whatever G League NBA roster the Texans brought over from the Rockets. We'll say, hey, maybe they should have went with Trey Lance. Maybe they should have went with him. Maybe they'd be 9-8, 10-7 in the playoffs. Maybe they would have done it. But they're not going to do that. Can they do this? No, they cannot do
I'm
this.
still going to say they make the playoffs with Garoppolo. But what do you think is going to happen this week in Cincinnati?
Thank you for bringing me back home.
Yeah.
I was so close to transitioning back to Trey Lance, but I'll keep it on topic. Bengals have a great offense. They have a bad defense.
Yep.
The keys to victory, you got to limit possessions on offense. You can't give Burrow all day to work his magic. You got to keep the ball out of his hands. It's the same game plan you had against the Packers. You cannot give Aaron Rodgers possession after possession. You got to get a lead early. You got to keep mixing Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. You got to keep them off the field, and just hope that you can. When you have the ball, you got to capitalize and score.
2 questions.
Sure.
Question number 1. Does Burrow connect with Chase for a 40-plus yard touchdown?
Why are you asking that? Josh Norman's the starting cornerback. Do you think that's
when he got burned?
Jamar Chase is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Josh Norman.
Give it to Matt.
Go ahead. Go ahead before I roast Josh Norman. I am on it. Roll.
I just want to. This is kind of the same thing, but he got burned by DK, but Russell Wilson threw it out of bounds, and of course he did. Even though DK had 2 or 3 steps on him.
DK had a football field on him. Football field on him.
Yeah.
They put Ambry Thomas on special teams. Great. Start him over. Bum Josh Norman. Put Diamador Lenore over. Bum Josh Norman. Do you think that Josh Norman has any tread left on the tires? No.
He forces fumbles.
It's the same. Oh, that's great. Because he gives up the pass. Ding-a-ling.
That's true.
No.
Yes.
This is ridiculous. This team is a farce. It's a farce. Because it is going to happen. It is going to happen, Steve. Okay. And I'm going to bring it back to Trey Lance. Okay. Because his general management and front office cannot get it through their head that if you're going to trade up for Ambry Thomas, you're going to take Diamador Lenore, you're going to take Mr. American Samoa Hufanga, and Trey Lance in the first round, and trade up for Trey Lance, and trade up for Trey Sermon, and trade up for Aaron Banks. You got to play these guys for crying out loud. That maybe they can get it through their head that a quarterback like Josh Norman, who's been on the streets for 3 freaking years, doesn't deserve a starting spot in the NFL. And if he did, he'd be on a team by now. So, yes, Jamar Chase is going to eat him for lunch. He's going to snatch his chain. He's going to grab a buzz cut. He's going to grab a little buzzer. He's going to cut off the dreads. And he's going to freaking force a fumble on Norman. He's going to blow up Norman. He's going to play quarterback on Norman. That's what's going to happen. He's going to light him up. He's just going to blow him up on a play. He's going to blow him up on a play.
Question number 2.
There's another one? God almighty.
49ers win.
said jokingly about Jamar Chase pulling up Josh Norman, but he's just eating Norman's lunch all day. Norman's going to hold him. And if they complete the pass or not, that's the game plan. They're just going to go after him all day. That is the game plan. No, do what?
T. Higgins has been on fire lately.
Yeah, not even T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and Zach Ertz when or whatever the team names are. That was an old fantasy name.
Oh yeah.
Zach Ertz and Tyler Eifert. It hurts when I fart. Instead of it hurts when I fart, it hurts when I fart. That was a good one. But I mean, how easy would it be to just arm punt it to Jamar Chase? Because that's who Josh Norman's going to play coverage on, whether it's zone or man or what. He's your best quarterback. So that's who he's going to cover. Just arm punt it. Do what?
What about Mosley?
He's banged up.
Is he going to be out?
He's still banged up. Do you think a banged up Mosley's going to be any better against Jamar Chase? Grabbing and holding? Just arm punt it to him. You're going to get – it's a spot foul. It's the NFL. It's not college with 15 yards. It's a spot foul.
I hate that, but yeah.
But just arm punt it to Jamar Chase. He's going to run past everybody. He'll catch half of them, and the other half will be pass interference. These corners have nothing on them.
This is a really
I don't know if
draft coming up, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, it is. It is, and we'll get into that in the offseason.
Yeah,
I'm on a roll. But you asked me originally, will the 49ers win?
Huh?
I'd like to think so. Cincinnati's a favored by a point. 49ers, ironically enough, are predicted 51.6% chance to win by ESPN. Bengals are at 48.4, which is surprising to say the least. On the road in Cincinnati in December. It's an evening kick, 4:25. The sun will be set by the fourth quarter. It's going to be cold there on the river, on the Ohio River in Cincinnati. Wind's going to be blowing through. Got predicted snow coming in. I'd like to think so. That's your only hope, I guess, in this game, is that the weather gets bad enough they don't want to put the ball in the air and let Josh Norman deflect a pass, force a fumble, hit a woman, whatever he's going to do. You don't want to put the ball in there. That's the prayer, is that it starts snowing. If the weather's bad enough, yes, I think the 49ers win. I think they can own the trenches. Bengals are still searching for answers on the defensive line. I think the 49ers can get enough pressure against a porous offensive line. I love that word. So, yeah, if the weather's bad, 49ers win. If the weather's good, I think the Bengals are just going to arm punt it and take advantage of field position, and we'll just rock that Norman boat all day.
What's your score prediction?
49ers, I'll say it's going to snow. And we'll say Robbie, good as gold, make some plays. 49ers 23. We give them the same totals last week. 49ers 23, Bengals 17.
Nice. Okay. I'm going to say that the 49ers get back to what they're doing and establish the run early, control the game, and they win 27-21.
That's of interest. Yeah. It's of interest. Let's check the weather here before we close out in Cincinnati. I'm curious to see what it is. Bear with technical difficulties, folks.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
Nah, nobody cares. It is going to be decent weather Sunday. Surprisingly, it's supposed to snow up here in Midwest Michigan. It's going to be a high of 49, low of 30, 5% chance of rain, and sunny. So 4:25 kick, sun's going to set by about 7 or 8. So at some point, it'll be set before then, actually, more like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So second half, it's going to be pretty dark. Temperature is going to drop. So maybe it gets colder. Burrow makes some mistakes. I don't know. But yeah, 23-17 Niners. I'll stick with it.
27-21. Nice. Sweet. Well, yeah, hopefully they get it done. This is a big game, although I do think they can win the next 3 games, have a good shot at it. Maybe they can even upset the Rams again. But,
yeah, and doesn't it feel like, before we close out, doesn't it feel like this is – we talked about the inflection point earlier in the game against the Seahawks. Doesn't this feel like the inflection point of the season?
Yeah.
Where it's like you're going up against a team that's also competing for the playoffs, who's probably on your caliber, not in positions, but talent level overall.
Who just
is
lost
kind of your
the game too.
yeah, and you're kind of fighting for your life through the playoffs. I think this game's more important. Titans are going to walk away with their division. Falcons are going to drop off. Texans aren't playing for nothing. Anytime Shanahan goes against McVay, that's a nightmare for them. But this feels like a game where the 49ers lose, man. Maybe they drop the 3 out of the next 4. Where it's just like, God dang, here goes another one. Don't have anything left to play for. We're just losing. Maybe they win this game. It's like, here's some confidence going down the stretch. We're going to go into Tennessee on a Thursday night on a short week. We're going to win that game. We're going to beat the Rams at home. We're going to lock up the 6th seed. It feels like this is either going to fall off a cliff down the stretch if they lose, or they're just going to maybe even win out. They've got a good opportunity to do it either way. It really feels like the coup de grace moment where the guillotine's above the head and we're going to find out what happens.
Well, hopefully they get it done, man. Before we get out of here, man, your fact of the week.
Sure. So something interesting here. I actually asked Steven, I said, would you like your fun fact of the week to come from the entertainment industry, celebrity, music, athletic, sports, scientific, other? Steve picked scientific. So this is a good one. It turned out bats, you're familiar with bats, flying animals.
Yes.
The chicken of the cave. Bats don't get sick from most viruses. You're familiar with COVID.
Yes.
Turns out they're not responsible for it after all. They don't get sick from it in the first place. How can they transmit them? Wild stuff. Wild stuff. Makes me think maybe Kyle Shanahan was involved here in the COVID misinformation spread in an effort to maybe deter folks from the colossal disaster of starting Garoppolo the entire season. It really makes you think, man.
Conspiracies, man. I tell you what. Well, hopefully the 49ers can take care of business and go on a winning streak, get in the playoffs and make some noise, but only time will tell. But whatever happens, me and Josh will be here weekly to cover it. This has been the 49-Yard Dash podcast. We thank you all for listening. Peace out, guys.
Namaste.